Welcome to Leading Voices. I'm Laura Nix Gerson, Director of Women in Worth. We're delighted to welcome you to our monthly series featuring groundbreaking women from our community who are leading the charge when it comes to building a more equitable economy for women. In addition to this series, we host events throughout the year. We're just coming off of our hugely successful annual Women's Summit. Videos and recaps are available online, and you can find more information about the event and speakers at worth.com. At Women in Worth, we want to help more women reach the C-suite and the boardroom, build thriving enterprises, and have the confidence and resources to make decisions when it comes to investing. To build a thriving enterprise, though, female founders need an ecosystem around them. Our guests today are running two of the leading organizations benefiting female founders. We're going to delve into the how and why of empowering female founders. But first, I'd like to introduce you to Wyatt of Female Founders Collective and Gabrielle McGee of the Tory Burch Foundation. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you, Laura.
So you're both here with me today, and so excited to have this conversation. I know we've been talking about it for months. Gabrielle, let's start with you. So as the COO of the Tory Burch Foundation, you help scale the organization from supporting a few hundred women annually to becoming a go-to resource for women entrepreneurs worldwide, to include the critically acclaimed celebrity-led digital movement, #EmbraceAmbition. You also launched in partnership with Bank of America, the Capital Program that has provided over $95 million to nearly 5,500 women entrepreneurs. So let that sink in for a second. Those numbers are fantastic. Tell us about the Tory Burch Foundation. I mean, we are all familiar with Tory Burch herself, but I think we'd all like to know about the foundation and the service you provide to women business owners.
Sure. Well, thank you again for having me. I'm so happy to be here with Allie. I joined Tory's team nearly a decade ago. And what was so interesting to me about Tory is she was a founder, an entrepreneur, a CEO who wanted purpose to be part of her business from day one. So it wasn't just a checkbox or a CSR initiative off to the corner, but it was core to everything that she dreamed of for her business from day one. And why women founders? Tory always knew what women founders go through, right? What women entrepreneurs face is ridiculous, whether it be bias, access to capital, education, etc. And so the mission of the Tory Burch Foundation is really to take down those barriers. We want women entrepreneurs to start and stay in business. We want to see them thrive. And there are huge systematic issues and barriers that hold women founders back. And so if you look at each of our programs, that is what we're looking to do, is take down those barriers. Less than 4% of women entrepreneurs will ever surpass the $1 million mark in revenue. And that's because of access to capital and the way banks work and the way credit scores work, et cetera. So we're on a mission to empower women entrepreneurs, and all of our program pillars center around education, community, and capital.
Oh, so incredible. And I definitely have more detailed questions for you about all of that. But I don't want to let another minute go by without introducing our other guest, Wyatt. Allie, you're a veteran of the startup world. You worked at companies like Goop and Refinery 29, which I get in my inbox still every day, and Girl Boss. And 4 years ago, you teamed up with Rebecca Minkoff to launch the Female Founders Collective and the North. And what was the inspiration behind that? Like, what brought you two ladies together, and what made you decide to undertake this huge initiative?
Well, I had just left Girl Boss, and at Girl Boss, what I had seen was the fastest growing portion of our audience, and really we were a media company, was founders. And they were desperate for education. They were desperate for community, and they were looking for capital. So all the things that Gabrielle talks about, those were the highlights that I was seeing. I also am an angel investor, and so had been working with 14 different female-founded organizations, and they all were having the same issues, but they weren't talking to one another and really sharing ways to get around it. And Rebecca actually launched Female Founder Collective as a seal in a way for founders to be able to get consumers to vote with their wallets at point of sale,
Mm.
wherever they were. So it was an easy way for every day us to make a little bit of impact on their businesses for those consumer brands. But we gathered together. I reached out to her and I was like, I think there's a really big opportunity to create a platform at scale that really helps founders with networking with one another, helping see around corners, as well as helping them figure out their way through those really big pain points that they're coming up against, which frankly, as somebody who's been in the startup seat, the most helpful person for us was always, it wasn't the advisors, no offense to advisors, and I'll talk about that in a second.
Mhm.
It wasn't former managers or people that were peers in other organizations, because they don't have the context that founders have. And that context is it's make or break. Every single day you're trying to survive, and you have to make decisions with that in mind. And so having somebody else who's been in that seat, who has had to make a decision on hiring or tech stack or, what is your CRM? All of those things are make or break for these businesses. And it's really important that they have that information at their fingertips. So that's what we set out to do. And we both felt very passionate about the fact that females, as Gabrielle mentioned, really are at a disadvantage for all the reasons that she named.
Well, and I think you both make a really good point. Like, it's so important for founders to help each other. Women entrepreneurs are going through a very specific a roadmap, right? And the challenges that they're dealing with on every day are not necessarily things that their girlfriends or mom friends or lifetime friends understand or have gone through or experienced. And so having other women in your corner that have gone down that road, or are doing it alongside you, I think is hugely beneficial. And you were both talking about community. So how are your organizations actually building community and creating that sense of involvement or belonging within your communities to really empower these founders? What are some of the programs that you're doing? Gabrielle, do you want to start?
Sure, Laura. I would say, if you think about an entrepreneur, she is the infrastructure, right? She doesn't have the corporate support of an HR department or a benefits team or all these different resources that someone in a traditional business in the corporate environment has. And when I think about women entrepreneurs, they're taking care of their businesses, they're taking care of their employees, they're often taking care of children or aging parents, their community. And so when it comes down to what they need, they think of their own needs last. And so when we look at our fellows program, which I'll go into a little bit, but the Tory Burch Fellows program is our flagship program for small business entrepreneurs. And the best thing we can give our fellows is each other. It's transformative for them. And we see each year when we launch our next cohort, the first thing these 50 entrepreneurs want to do is help each other. And so for us, creating programs that have infrastructure around community is invaluable.
Well, and I love this fellows program. I've actually met several of the women in Los Angeles who've gone through fellows program, and the two of you have a lot of crossover between your organizations. So many of the fellows are also members of the Female Founder Collective, which is tremendous. I mean, the fact that, you have these annual resources and these online resources in the community itself, it's so great. Wait, so Allie, you guys did something a little interesting too, in that you created, beyond just the main membership, you created a silo or maybe a more curated group that you're calling the 10th house. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we initially had started off with a Slack group, and that group really grew organically. It became sort of a movement. Before we knew it, we had over 5,000 women in that, and then 8,000, and then 10,000. And the reality is it was really hard to service those people on a free basis. So we started collecting information over the course of 2 years on what are they looking for most, what's going to be most appealing from a feature standpoint. How do they want to connect? Where do they want to connect? And the pandemic certainly change the behavior of what they would typically want. And we're even seeing the impact of that now, where people want way more in-person events and opportunities, whereas during the pandemic, everything was virtual and everybody was excited about that. But we sort of collected all that data, and that ultimately informed what we created as the 10th house, which is our paid version. So for $619 a year, you can join and you'd be part of a cohort. We introduce those cohorts 4 times per year. It is for an annual membership, however, because we've seen that in order to get the benefit, you really have to participate for the sort of longer term, because you're going to be introduced to people throughout that time. We have programming that happens every single week based off of people's pain points. And we're doing fireside chats. We're doing workshops that are based off of very specific skill building that we see our founders need, whether it's figuring out TikTok and how to leverage that for your business, or building out your financial model given the economic downturn, or how to think about extending your runway given VC funds are not as readily available. So we're constantly sort of looking at things that are topical as well as sort of evergreen, and programming to that for founders to be able to come in and not only gather as a community via our digital platform, but then also be able to take these courses together and really learn together and share the questions that they have still, so that we can help them get through these hurdles.
It's such an incredible resource. That's really helpful. And Gabrielle, I feel like the fellows, when they graduate the program, they're still very involved. I mean, there's ongoing programming, there's online education. You guys do, are you still doing webinars? I know there are a number of webinars online.
Yes. And let me just say, Laura, I love that there's so much crossover between our organization and what Allie's doing.
See why I put you guys together on this one?
We need many more Rebecca's, Tory's, Allie's in the space. And I feel like for us, the needs are so great. The demand is so great. And so we need more corporations and founders stepping up to the plate to change the systems for women entrepreneurs. But yes, we host our monthly webinars. We have a few each month. The webinar series was birthed, of course, through COVID, where we were receiving nonstop emails from women frantically trying to figure out what is EIDL, what is PPP, how do I apply, what do I write on these applications? And it became so clear to us that there was not a trusted source. There were a lot of people taking advantage of entrepreneurs, of course, during COVID. And so we built this program, our small business webinar series, that's free for any woman around the world. And we have plenty of men that participate in our webinars as well. And we bring in leading experts on everything from supply chain to finance to marketing, et cetera. So that's certainly our digital community as well.
Well, and you're showcasing a lot of very specific industry expertise through those events. I know, and then Female Founders Collective, you guys do this kind of through the North, which is another program you launched.
Yeah. So the North actually was born out of these webinars, right? Because we were bringing in these experts to 10th House, and we would get these emails afterwards asking to be introduced directly to these executives and CEOs and other founders that maybe had exited, with the request to get one-on-one time with them or to talk to them for investor purposes. And the reality is it's very difficult for us to make all these one-to-one introductions, thousands of people. But the other piece of it is that we don't know that the people that are these executives that have very strapped time as it is are going to want to be introduced to that many people, even though they do want to help sort of shepherd that next generation of female entrepreneurs. So what we decided to do was to honor those executives' time and really use it as a thought leadership platform for them, and connect them to this incredible world of entrepreneurs that are women, which, by the way, going back to Gabrielle's point of there being crossover, I want there to be crossover because we need as many resources as possible for these women. But the reality is the total addressable market of these women is insanely massive. It's
Mhm.
42% of all businesses are female founded businesses. And it's only grown since the pandemic, and it's quadrupled by 5 times, or I'm sorry, it's 5 times as large as it was 5 years ago, the number of female founders. So it's only increasing because as people sort of walk away from the corporate workforce. But getting back to the North, some people don't have the ability to go into a startup world or start their own companies because they're maybe the breadwinner. And so they're in this sort of executive position that affords them a tremendous amount of knowledge. And so we wanted to, again, value that time, have them be able to set the times and days that they would be available each month, and then have founders be able to go in and sort by stage, industry, the type of expertise that they could receive with these individuals. And then they can have 30-minute to 1-hour sessions, one-on-one, that are paid. But it's really invaluable because it might introduce them to a board member, to an investor, to a consultant that's longer term for their business, that has already been heavily vetted.
I have to applaud you both on everything you're doing, because I know how time intensive this is and how much follow-up there is. And Allie, you're so right. There's an endless need for support for women entrepreneurs, and there's not enough of us out there doing this. Like the more help we can provide to women, the better. Like, we're just driving the economy. That's what we're doing. We're really, and think about how women, we are the number one consumers. We make 92% of consumer spending decisions. And we're also the backbone of the American economy. Like, more women launch small businesses in this country than anybody else. So, it's so important that we're not only creating these organizations and running these organizations to support them, but that we're creating communities of women that are supporting each other. And I think that's so key. I want to get back to the financial piece really quickly, because you had both mentioned helping with capital. And I know Tory Burch Foundation has recently launched this incredible funding finder, and you also offer grants. So can you talk a little bit about that? Because I think that's really important. We always think about investors, but there's other options out there.
Sure, Laura. I always think whenever there's the discussion of capital, I always think of Billie Jean King, because she always tries to break down this cultural challenge that women don't talk about money. And it's like, no, we do talk about money. Show us the money, right? And Billie always says, show me the money, show me the money. So I have her in my head right now, but we have 3 core programs around financing women businesses. And capital, of course, is the most pressing issue for women business owners. And it's because of the outdated systems that still exist. And as Allie said, we've seen a great rise in women starting businesses. And why is that? It's because women have left the workforce, because the systems do not allow women to, whether it be raise kids, take care of aging parents, et cetera. So it all comes back to the systems and bias that exist. When we look at our loan program with Bank of America, we know only $1 out of $23 goes to women entrepreneurs. And if you're a woman of color, it's even worse. And so our capital program with Bank of America, that has been an incredible program where we've partnered with Bank of America. We partner with CDFIs, which many people have never heard the term CDFIs, but Community Development Financial Institutions exist. They're all over the country. You can visit our website to learn more about this program, but we want to make sure that capital gets in the hand of women entrepreneurs. So that's our core capital program. And as you said earlier, we've deployed $95 million to date and are still going. Our second program that's really important to us is, we know women of color start more companies than any other demographic, but are the least funded. So we've partnered with Fearless Fund to launch our Women of Color grant program. We provide grants of around $10K, $20K, as well as community and networking with Fearless Fund. And our latest cohort, the applications just closed recently, but for those tuning in, be sure to check out our website, because we often open new cohorts throughout the year. And then third, as you touched upon, Laura, is our funding finder. So we have this new tool on our website. It's free, and it's for entrepreneurs to understand what type of capital is best for their business. So entrepreneurs can type in questions, and then they receive personalized recommendations, because what we don't want is an entrepreneur to take on venture capital if that's the worst thing for her business.
Mhm.
And so this tool, there's nothing out there like it. It's unmatched, and it can really help you figure out what is the best way to scale your business.
I've done it. I've gone through the tool, and it's super insightful.
Great.
I think it's really helpful
Love
because
that.
it's true, so often, and I know, Allie, we have this conversation with founders all the time, is, immediately the thought goes to taking on investors, which is a terrific way to go, but not always the right fit. And sometimes there are other capital options out there that are overlooked. So I think it's great that Tory Burch Foundation has created this funding finder. But I want to talk a little bit about the investor route too, because Allie, you guys have integrated this into Female Founder Collective, where you've got a community of investors that you're working with as well. Tell me a little bit about that piece of the organization.
Well, we are building it as we speak too, but right now it's a little bit more informal, where, we're starting to look at how do we help founders with syndicates by matching them with a group of angel investors that's growing, in order for them to put their business in front of them. And really, it's an education process too for angel investors, because frankly, there's not enough female angels out there in the world investing in these sorts of businesses. And they're just the prime type of investors that these female founders want on their cap tables, because they really understand the problem, as well as have the contacts and the context to be able to help them grow their businesses. So that's one piece of it. And then I would say the other piece that is really integral for us is helping coach them inside of the 10th house, where we have a pitch program where you're not going to get money on the back of it. We do have our foundation where we provide grants on a regular basis. We're actually just about to announce one around people that are investing in the maternal health space, which is really exciting. But we do have these pitch programs where we put founders in front of a variety of different types of investors, angel investors, VCs, later stage VCs, really help them hone in on their pitch, because I don't think that there's enough understanding or emphasis on how important that pitch is. And that's where we're seeing a lot of the breakage happens, and not being able to raise not even just venture capital, but really if you're going out and you're speaking to a big customer, what does that look like? Or if you are going and trying to get a loan, what does that look like? What do your financials need to look like in order to be ready to have those types of conversations and really look like you have a good hold on your business and your business model? And a lot of times there's sort of a lack of confidence there. So we try to sort of train them through the pitch sessions to identify the holes in their presentation. There's peer mentoring in that as well. You do it in front of a group of peers, which can be very nerve-wracking. But I think that's probably where they learn the most, is they see, oh, what are the compelling slides, or what are the compelling aspects of another founder's pitch that I can learn from and pull into mine, and what's missing from my pitch, or what did I do really well that stood out amongst all of these others that I also heard from today.
I completely agree with you.
So that's a really big part of our process as well, as founders making recommendations of other investors that they've worked with that are on their cap table, that they really believe in. And then right now we're also actively working on partnerships. We're about to launch one where it's totally different types of funding that are not loan-based, but actually it helps them to extend their accounts receivable. So what are those sort of issues that we're seeing come up? And then how do we address them with partners that are already doing that in the space?
Can you mention the partner, or we have to wait till the partnership's done? Because I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, I know. It was an interesting year, but we're super excited about it.
I think, Gabrielle, I put you in touch with them too. I'm going to tell you guys offline.
Okay.
But really great organization. Okay, I know we're running out of time, but I did want to ask you both really quickly, what are some ways that women can support your organizations and the work that you're doing to empower women entrepreneurs? How can they get involved?
So I would start by saying spread the word. I often say we're the best kept secret and we don't want to be. Tory is so humble and never wanted the foundation to be part of a marketing strategy. So oftentimes people don't know that we exist, but we're here for entrepreneurs. So our website is torybirchfoundation.org, and all of our tools, programs are on that website. We will likely be announcing our application for our fellows program in September in the fall. So if you're interested in that program, check back in the fall. And then for entrepreneurs, check out our webinar series. And for anyone who's listening, who's a corporate executive or leader, we're always looking for partners that can help us scale. Whether it be becoming a sponsor or partner of one of our programs, that's something that we would love to hear from you. So look me up and I will get back to you, and would love more corporate partners to join us in this mission.
Well, Allie, I think you're in the same boat, right?
Yeah, I was going to say, ditto on all of the above. And then I would
all of the
add
above.
to that, tap into the North, check it out. We have incredible women on there. I'm so proud of the individuals that are putting their time forth to meet with these women. And in addition to that is join the 10th house. If you are at that right point in time in your sort of trajectory. And I would say the right point is if you're looking for a step change in your business, whether it is you're going out to raise capital, you are at that point where you've received capital and now you need to hire a team and understand what that looks like. You're about to invest in resources for your operating expenses, any of those sort of major thresholds where you're investing in your business, it makes sense to also invest in your community.
For sure. So just to reiterate, we can find you at femalefounderscollective.com. Is founders plural or it's singular? Founder Collective.
Femalefoundercollective.
Femalefoundercollective.com or at femalefoundercollective on social media, and torybirchfoundation.org or at Tory Burch Foundation in social media. Ladies, thank you so much for joining me today, sharing the work that you're doing to empower female founders and entrepreneurs. We are so appreciative for all your work. And over at Women in Worth, we're very mission aligned. We thoroughly support everything that you're doing and are so grateful for your time today. Thank you so much. To learn more about Women in Worth, subscribe to our newsletter or apply to become a member of the Women in Worth community. Thank you for joining us.